Dune, Arrakis, desert planet.
Paul Atreides was born on Caladan, but to understand the man, we must understand the context in which he lived. Paul Atreides was really made a man on Arrakis, Dune, desert planet.
That's like paraphrasing, but I used to listen to the audiobook. Isn't it enough for you to have already conquered mi corazón? No. I must have the entire world. I'd be a rod of Hades while listening to your most recent humming. Oh, I'm glad, Leonard. That was delicious. Thank you. I try to make a meal whenever I can. Fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that leads to total obliteration. I must face my fear and allow it to pass over and through me. When I look at the path my fear has taken, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. I'm sure that isn't totally correct, but it's close.
Can you explain the plot of the first two Dune movies to me? Because I have no clue what's going on. Okay, yes, I can do that.
There'll be Dune spoilers. Are you ready? So essentially, Paul Atreides is the son of Duke Leto. He is a duke. Now, he's a duke in a much larger scale than a traditional feudal empire, and that this empire spans the entire galaxy. But not all is well in Duke Leto's life, Paul Atreides' father, for he is caught up in a scheme by the evil Baron Harkonnen, conspiring with the Emperor of the entire galaxy. For Duke Leto is too suave. Legitimately, he's too quick with his connections. He's gaining too much power, much too much power for the Emperor's liking, and the Harkonnens, well, they've been in a blood feud with the Atreides for millennia. And so the two conspire together to rid themselves of the pesky Atreides. You see, no outward collusion can be had. The Emperor can't choose sides. It is the golden rule that holds this feudal empire together. No unilateral targeting of different houses. And so, the Emperor's men dress up as the Harkonnens after they trick and manipulate the Atreides to leave their home planet, this water world of Caladan, to come to Dune, Arrakis, desert planet. Now, Dune is a harsh wasteland where few can survive, where water is more valuable than gold. Coming from such a water-rich planet, you could hardly expect little Paul Atreides to be ready for the dangers that are coming, but Paul is special. His mother, a Bene Gesserit witch. Those trained in the special arts. See, the Bene Gesserit are a unique group of all women who use their deep abilities to manipulate the course of history and all of the politics in the empire. They are so special in that they are trained to control every muscle in their body. They can control their internal bodily temperature. They can hear the thoughts of those who came before them when they imbibe a certain substance known as the spice. See, Paul was given training he shouldn't have, for the Bene Gesserit hold tightly to the tradition that men cannot know their abilities. The abilities such as using the voice, a technique in which you fully, completely analyze those you are speaking to and speak with just the right tone to render them incapable of resisting your every order. Such a skill that Paul was trained to use at such a young age. Paul was groomed to become someone great, someone who was prophesied to come from the Bene Gesserit's breeding program. The Kwisatz Haderach, a male Bene Gesserit with the ability to see the future, the one who was to lead the way. Paul's mother trained Paul in order for him to become potentially the Kwisatz Haderach, this rumored fable leader of the Bene Gesserit. Now the thing is, the Bene Gesserit, like I said, have their claws into all of the galaxy. In fact, they go to planets and colonize their religion. They weave stories that end up becoming the history and religion of the people there, in which they plant themselves as the heroes, as the guardians, as the priests, and as the potential predictors of the Messiah. Arrakis, now that Duke Leto and his family have arrived, is no different. The Bene Gesserit have long since been here, maybe hundreds if not thousands of years ago, planting the seeds of religious fanaticism so that at their whim they can control the politics, the political violence, the control of the entire planet. So while Paul is on his journey to Arrakis, ensnared in the trap of both the Emperor and their sworn enemies, the Harkonnens, he comes into a planet ripe for manipulation. They have been infiltrated mind and soul by the Bene Gesserit plans. Not only that, Paul truly is someone special. He sees glimpses of the future due to his extensive training by his parents. It's starting to take hold. This prophesized ability that has been hoped for from genetic pairing, trying to find the male Bene Gesserit. And all it takes to trigger this soon-found transformation is exposure to what? The spice. Arrakis is the home, the breeding place of the spice, this hallucinogenic substance, but it has strange properties. It extends your lifespan a great deal. It is both a drug and a medicine. People get addicted, people lose their way. People get sucked into fanciful visions, but some of those visions, they provide important ability. For the Bene Gesserit, in imbibing the spice from the source, the sandworms, that's how they summon their memories past of their genetic history all the way down from Bene Gesserit to Bene Gesserit, thousands of years back, access to all of their voices and wisdom. A male Bene Gesserit, one who could hear both the male and female voices past, one who could delve into the many possible futures, the spindling trees of potential. Paul comes to this spice-rich planet exposed every day through the food he consumes. Spice is so plentiful on this planet that it's in the air he breathes, activating and changing him, allowing him to cocoon and turn into the prophesized Kwisatz Haderach. For he sees the future. He senses his terrible purpose. The great war that he will fight, that he will lead, because like I said, the Bene Gesserit have laid their trap, their intellectual infiltration of the people of Arrakis. They have told of a prophesied hero, the one, the Lisan al-Gaib, the one from beyond the planet, who will be championed by his Bene Gesserit mother. Isn't that the perfect story in order to manipulate the people of Dune? In order to follow him. And then you find out that the Emperor's armies, the reason they're so fierce is because they are groomed on a planet that is quite hellish, where only the most brutal and strong survive. That is how they create their warriors. The ones who destroyed the Arrakis armies and pushed off Dune to hide into the caves amongst the Fremen, the desert people of Arrakis, the deeply religious people of Arrakis, those who know the importance of water, who value it more than gold. Well, if it's true that those who survive brutal circumstances become the strongest warriors, then what are the Fremen but the ultimate source of soldiers? So that Paul Atreides, his mother, they can avenge Duke Leto, his father, take back the planet from the Harkonnen, and start a holy war for the Emperor's throne, knowing that this path will cause billions upon billions to die in a holy fight, in a religious fanaticism that he will inspire. Paul embarks upon this terrible purpose to avenge his father, to seek the throne, and to become the thing the Bene Gesserit hoped for, the male Bene Gesserit, the Kwisatz Haderach, and ultimately would come to fear because he was not under their control. So that's basically like the two Dune movies, just like summarized for you. Just a short little summary. Yeah, I probably couldn't do that with most media. I just happen to have listened to the Dune books multiple times. Okay, so I need to rewatch the movies now that I have any clue what's going on. Basically, Paul is the rumored, like, male Bene Gesserit. He was, like, thousands of years, like, looking for this guy. And also the Fremen, the desert people, were manipulated into thinking a chosen one would appear, the Lisan al-Gaib. So he's like two chosen people in one. One by the Fremen, who are indoctrinated by the Bene Gesserit's doctrine, and one of the Bene Gesserit, the male Bene Gesserit, who can see into the future. And Paul knows from his visions that he gets from his exposure to the hallucinogenic spice that in doing what he must, it will lead to a holy war of fanaticism in the Fremen, who are basically the ultimate soldiers because they were in the harshest conditions, just like the Emperor's men. And he ends up basically taking over the galaxy, and billions of people die.